2 feet. When we ask the dog to do 2 feet, all they need to do is put their 2 front feet on a different surface to what their back feet are. So it doesn't actually have to have any height to it. Now, in order to help the dog learn the behaviour, some dogs do need to have a little bit of height there. But what we're going to start with Pikachu, and I suggest you do, is just maybe just something, a bit of vet bed, or this was the inside of a bed that got a bit destroyed, but I kept that so that there's a different texture. And so all we're trying to do is, if she goes and puts her front feet on there, then I'm going to reward her for that. So remember, there's no minimum height for any of the behaviours, the 2 feet or 4 feet, that it can just be a different texture. So for example, if you're doing an urban 2 feet, it could just be that they put 2 feet on the manhole cover and their back feet are on the concrete. So it's as easy as that. But for teaching, just a little bit of height can be helpful. So I'm going to pop this on the ground, then I'm going to untie Pikachu from where she is, and then all I'm going to do first of all is get her to put 2 feet on, and I'm going to reward her that. As soon as she's done that, before she gets a chance to offer any other behaviour, I am going to give her her command to come off it, which is off. So I'm going to be developing her off command, and I'm also going to be ensuring she doesn't try to offer any other behaviour than 2 feet, and so she can't get confused. Okay, so I will have her harness, and I'm using it for spotting only. And that's quite hard, because sometimes when you have a dog that's really keen, it's really easy to try and restrict them using the harness. You'll also notice my floor covering. I've got some matting that's like a yoga mat, and I've just noticed that how I've set it up, I'm going to need to move over a little bit, because otherwise she's going to be on the floor. And wood floors look lovely, but they can be very slippery to the dogs. So we try a bit of carpet or rug or something that's going to be non-slip to them. Okay, so I'm just going to put that down, and I keep using those 2 letters, which actually mean a release command, so I have to be tempted not to make sure I don't say them. So I'm going to let her approach the object. Okay. As soon as she's put 1 foot on, I come away from it. Okay, and then I'm trying again. So looking at good. So at the moment, I'm not giving her a word for what she's doing. I'm just getting her to do it and then coming off. As you noticed, it's difficult to remember everything that you have to remember. I wasn't saying the word off, I wasn't saying the word 2 feet. So I was just trying to reward her in the places I wanted to understand and wanted to be. Reward once for her front feet on there, once for her front feet away from it. If you have a dog that's very nervous and doesn't want to put their feet on, then what you can do is reward loads for just having their 2 front feet on, which I'm going to show you now. So if she was nervous about it, then I would hold her in that position and keep rewarding it. Okay? So that would give her confidence that that's the right place. So once again, it's still not in my nature to say the off command. And also because she's small and for the video I'm knelt down. So when we go to do our titles, we do have to be stood up. And we'll practice doing that. And those of you with larger dogs, you'll probably find it easier to do this stood up anyway. So the next stage is that we are going to now, for the level 1 foundation skills, behaviours, they ask that you keep the dog on the item for 2 seconds. So what we're going to have a look at now is seeing if we can hold her there for 2 seconds and then ask her to come off. So. Because what she's doing at the moment is just looking at the food. She hasn't got any understanding of what I'm asking her to do. She's not offering a behaviour. All she's doing is trying to take that food out of my hand. So when we talk about luring, then if we lure the dog and encourage them to do something, then sometimes that's helpful. But with a dog that's just too foodie or too quick, when we do that luring, then what happens is instead of them thinking about what they're doing, all they want to do is take that treat. They're not even thinking about it. Because they are agile, then we tend to, or I tend to then reward her, but I'm not actually rewarding her for understanding what she's doing. Okay? So that might be what's happening with some of you when your dogs are doing it a bit too quick. Because we're just maybe doing a little bit of too much luring. So now I'm going to try and do it without luring her. I haven't got any treats in my hand. I'm just going to offer that to her and see if she'll go and put her front feet on there. Okay? Okay? So all I'm doing is looking at what I want her to do. She's looking at my pocket because that's where the food is. So in quite a few of my videos when I'm doing my submitting for my titles, I will always start the frame by that. A, when I'm editing, it makes it easier for me to know where to start. And B, it's to let the people know that I haven't got anything in my hand because she will act like I have. And also it's to let her know that I haven't got anything in my hand, and so we just want her to offer a behaviour. Okay, so she's just staring at me, and I'm going to pick this up and put it back down and see if she'll do it. So with her, she does actually know what the word is, so if I said it she would probably do it, but this is to demonstrate to you how you get yes, how you go about shaping. So ideally you can have a clicker, and the clicker you click them when they put their front feet on there to let them know they've done the right behaviour. So the reward when you do what's called shaping is away from the object and not on it. So we'll give her another go. Okay. I'm just going to put my hand on there and take my hand away. Yes, good girl. So those of you who've got dogs that like to put 4 feet on, what I would say is if they offer 4 feet on at this stage, try and engineer it so they can't put 4 feet on. I will demonstrate. So if I stand the other side, so she's coming towards me, okay. So while you're doing this, it is a little bit harder to do the spotting, but if we set up the environment so we know it's safe, then it's not such a worry. Just need to get in the habit of it. Just watching her for when she puts her feet on there. She's just moaning with me of frustration as she wants sweets without doing anything. What can you do? Yes! Okay, good. Now I'll give her another chance. So you can see if I'm stood here, then she can't actually get the rest of her body onto the object. Good girl. 2 feet. Good girl. how you can start teaching it, and there's the different pitfalls that can happen there. As I said, we don't have to have any height to it. Sometimes if your dog isn't physically used to putting its feet up, or it's just not used to using its body in that way, then it is better to start on something low. Mentally, sometimes if you have something of a bit of height, it's easier for the dog to understand. So when you have put a bit of height on it, bear in mind, remember the shoulder height rule. So if you don't want to be any higher than their shoulder height unless they're jumping down onto a soft surface. Sit for me, please. Sit. Pikachu. Thank you, sit. So something like one of these exercise steps are ideal, because it's very easy for the dog to know straight away what they've done. It's a real distinction rather than just having a different thing. So sometimes when you're teaching the behaviour off, then it's worth having a look at seeing if they can understand it better with some height. So you could see with her that she found it much easier to understand the behaviour with a bit of height. So have a look for yourself. If your dog isn't understanding it on the flat or on a very low surface, put a higher surface up for them, and then you can make sure they reward it until they know the command verbally. So you saw when I did give her the verbal command, she jumped her feet on it. So I used the step to create a behaviour. Once the behaviour was learned and she understood the name, then I can then do it on a lower surface. Okay, so with her on the 2 feet, I will then put my hand in such a way to discourage her from jumping on with all 4. So the reason we teach the 2 feet first, 2 feet, good girl, off, is because once they learn 4 feet, a lot of dogs will prefer to jump up with all 4 feet than they would just put their 2 feet on a surface. Okay, hopefully that's helped. Giving you a good example of training it, and also any pitfalls that you can have, and then you can ask questions in a minute. Okay, thank you.